Today, we are diving into a really powerful idea. How do you actually build a life of courage? We're going to look at the architecture of our own fear and hopefully find a blueprint for a more meaningful, more fearless way to live. So let's start right here with this quote from Paulo Coelho, because it kind of flips our whole idea of strength on its head, right? He's saying real courage isn't about being tough, it's about being open. And things like tolerance and compassion, well, they only really become possible when we stop being afraid. So that begs the question, doesn't it? What is this fear that holds us back, not just from being compassionate, but from being our best selves? That's what we're here to break down. All right, first up, the courage to see. Look, the whole journey has to start with this one critical step, just having the guts to see things as they really are. Because think about it, you can't fight an enemy you refuse to even look at. The first step is always understanding. And this is not some new idea. We're talking thousands of years ago. The Stoics were warning us about this. They said that our gut reactions, our first impressions, those emotional alarm bells, a lot of the time they're not reliable. Our own senses can actually be lying to us. Section 2, our internal infrastructure. So if we want to see clearly, we've got to go deeper. We need to look past the surface and start examining the hidden structures of our own minds, our internal infrastructure. And this is a brilliant way to picture it, using a metaphor from Seth Godin. Think of your mind like a city. The buildings, those are your goals, your daily habits, your to-do lists. That stuff changes all the time. But the roads, those are the deep underlying assumptions, the patterns that connect everything. Man, those almost never change. They fight to stay exactly as they are. And here's the crucial part. Our biggest fears, they're not hanging out in the day-to-day buildings we're renovating. Nope. Fear is baked right into the roads of our thinking. It's in those unexamined beliefs about ourselves and the world that we just drive on every single day without a second thought. So how in the world do you start to challenge something that fundamental? Well, the answer is an ancient and incredibly powerful tool. It's the discipline of the pause. Think about it. A fearful person just reacts instantly. They're driven down those same old roads. But a fearless person? They pause. They create a little bit of space between what happens and how they respond. It's like Jordan Klepper says here, in that quiet moment, there's a power that a knee-jerk comeback could never have. And honestly, there's a real urgency to getting good at this. The Stoic philosopher Seneca reminds us that we're kidding ourselves if we think death is some far-off event. Time is slipping away, right now. In his words, we have been dying every day. And Seneca's point connects perfectly to this idea. Scarcity clarifies. It's like the proverb says, once you have to carry your own water, you're going to remember every single drop. The second we truly get that our time is a scarce resource is the second we stop wasting it and stop letting fear drive us down the same old roads. Section 4, Shoulders of Ivory. A lot of the time, that feeling of wasting time comes from something deeper. The fear that we're just not strong enough for what's in front of us. That imposter syndrome. So this brings us to an amazing story about recognizing our own strength, even when we feel like a total fraud. So what's with this number, 1,865? Well, that's roughly how many years ago a guy named Marcus Aurelius became the emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the world. And by all accounts, he was absolutely terrified. He felt like a complete imposter. But the night before he took power, he had this dream. He dreamt his shoulders were made of solid ivory. And he took it as a sign, a sign that he actually was strong enough for the massive burden he was about to carry, that maybe he had the strength he needed all along. And he lived by this philosophy. This is something he wrote in his private journal, basically a reminder to himself. If any other human being can do it, then it's within your reach too. The real limits are just the ones we convince ourselves are there. And this idea, it's totally timeless. It just echoes across the centuries. You go from a Roman emperor to one of the world's greatest bodybuilders and movie stars, and the core belief is exactly the same. Your mind is what sets the boundaries of what's possible. And here it is again, from one of the greatest athletes and activists of all time. It's the same exact idea, just coming from a different direction. Real freedom from fear comes from that deep, unshakable belief in your own path and your own potential. Section 5, Lighting Another Candle. Okay, but here's the turn. Discovering your own ivory shoulders, finding that inner strength, that is not the finish line. The real question is, what are you going to do with that strength once you find it? Mark Twain gives us a pretty sharp warning right here. Knowledge that you don't actually apply, that you don't live out, it's useless. It's just decoration. The point isn't just to know about courage and fear, it's to let that knowledge totally transform how you live your life. And this quote, wow, it just captures the ultimate purpose so beautifully. The work you do to build your own courage and find your own clarity, it's not just for you. It's so you can become a light for other people. Your strength exists to illuminate other hearts. So you can really see the whole architecture of a fearless life in these 4 steps. It starts with looking inward, seeing clearly, questioning your deep-seated patterns. But it ends with outward action, finding your strength and then using it to help others. Because that's really the summit of this whole journey. The big realization is that all the hard, courageous work you do on yourself was never just about you. It's the path to discovering that real, lasting happiness comes from a genuine concern for other people. And that brings us to our final section. Begin afresh, afresh, afresh. Which isn't really an end at all. It's more of an invitation. Because this whole thing isn't a box you just check off. It's a practice you come back to, over and over again. Being fearless is not some magical state where you don't feel fear. It is the quiet, consistent, daily decision to see the world clearly anyway. It's the courage to look at your internal roads, to stand on your ivory shoulders, and, as the poet Philip Larkin wrote, to simply begin again every single day. Afresh, afresh, afresh.